Well, hello, it's me, Miss Fedito, solving some quadratic equations using the quadratic formula from my phone. This little doohickey right here, which means something may go awry during this video, but we're gonna go with it. You previously saw me and we learned how to solve our quadratic equations using the calculator, and then we learned how to solve our quadratic equations using the zero product property. Today, we are going to look at problems that you cannot factor. So you have to put your factors in, or you have to put your trinomial in your standard form, and then this is the quadratic formula. This says negative b plus or minus, so a plus or minus sign is a plus sign with a minus sign right under it, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. There's a song that I'll make y'all sing when I get back, but you won't have to sing it today. So the steps to solve using the quadratic formula is put into standard form and set it equal to 0. So it would be ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. I think I'm going to get a different pen. Okay, you're going to identify these three letters. You're going to identify your A, your B, and your C. You are always going to write those to the side. You're going to plug that into this formula that I just gave you, the quadratic formula. Then you are going to simplify the radical and solve for x. Sounds like a lot, promise you'll be okay. All right, so first things first is you have to put it in standard form and set it equal to 0. Y'all learned this for zero product property, has to be equal to 0, has to be equal to 0. So I'm gonna put this up. It says x squared plus 14x plus 40 equals 0. If you tried to factor this problem, there are no numbers that multiply to give you 40 and add to give you 14. So that is why I use the quadratic formula. It is already in standard form, x squared, x, and a c. So my a is just an x squared, so that's gonna be an invisible 1. My a equals 1, my b equals 14, and my c equals 40. Okay? Now, all you're gonna do is take these and plug them in to this formula right here. But don't forget, anytime you plug something in, you have to put parentheses around it. So right here, I'm gonna write the word parentheses. Okay, hopefully I spelled it right. We'll never know. Alrighty, so my formula is negative b. Well, let me just write the formula right here. Negative b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So every time I plug in a letter, I am going to put parentheses. I'm also going to zoom in some. There we go. Okay, so negative b. So it's going to be negative parentheses 14 plus or minus the square root of b squared, so parentheses 14 squared, minus 4, because that's what's in the formula, parentheses in a of 1, parentheses a c of 40, all over 2 parentheses a, which is 1. Now when we use our parentheses, it means to multiply. So a negative times a 14 is just going to give me negative 14. Plus or minus 14 squared. Well, I'm going to do that in my calculator that I currently don't have directly on my desk because I was using it. That calculator is dead, I think. Okay, that's lovely. Let me switch this. The phone's probably going to fall. I think we're good. Okay, here we go. We have 14 squared, so 14 squared. And we get 196. So don't forget that square root symbol though. So 196, and then minus 4 times 1 times 40. We get 160. 160. All over 2 times 1, which is 2. Okay, now we're just going to keep simplifying. So negative 14, same thing, negative 14 plus or minus the square root of 196 minus 60. sorry, minus 160. And I get 36. Ooh, that's awesome. Because what is the square root of 36? Well, we should know it's 6. So negative 14 plus or minus 6 over 2. So now we're just going to simplify this. And so the way that you do this is you're going to take your plus and minus and you're going to write this in two different equations. Okay? So one is going to have a plus sign, so negative 14 plus 6 divided by 2. And then one's going to have the minus sign, negative 14 minus 6 divided by 2. And then we'll get our two solutions. So negative 14 minus 6 over 2, negative 14 plus 6 gives me negative 8 divided by 2, negative 4. Negative 4 is our first solution. And then we're going to have negative 14 minus 6 divided by 2 again, and we get negative 10. So my two answers are negative 4 and negative 10. So I lied to you. You actually could have factored this problem, but we're not factoring it. We're doing the quadratic formula because now we're going to get into some funky problems that you can't factor. Okay, so first things first, has to be equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract 5x from both sides. So my new equation ends up being 2x squared minus 5x minus 1 equals 0. Now that we're equal to 0, we can write down our a, b, and c. I'm going to write it up here just because I don't want to run out of room. So my a is 2, my b is negative 5, and my c is a negative 1. This is when your parentheses are really going to come in handy because I have a lot of negatives. So we have negative b. So negative parentheses negative 5 plus or minus the square root of b squared, so parentheses negative 5 squared, minus 4, my a is 2, and my c is a negative 1. All over 2 times 2, because this 2 is a, so 2a. Now we simplify. A negative times a negative 5 is going to be 5 plus or minus the square root of negative 5 squared gives me 25. Negative 4 times 2 times negative 1 is going to give me a positive 8. And then all over 4. So that's going to end up giving me 5 plus or minus the square root of 25 plus 8, which is 33 over 4. All right, but remember, we have two separate answers. I'm not going to make you do decimals right now. I'm literally just going to want you to to write down your answers. So our plus and minus. If we could break down this 33, that's what we would do, but we can't break it down right now. So, because it doesn't have a perfect square that goes in it. So my two answers, let me do my arrows, are going to be 5 root 35 plus root 33 over 4. And then 5 minus root 33 over 4. And those are our two answers. Zoop, zoop. Okay, let's flip it over. Okay, look at this one. Always, always, always simplify or reduce the root. Okay, so this one isn't even going to be a Pythagorean theorem problem. This one, and the opposite of squared is square rooted. So we're going to get x equals plus or minus the square root of 50. Okay, when you're looking for solutions, you always need to put a plus or minus because we're going to get two answers. Now we're going to break down our 50. The perfect square root that goes into 50 is 25. So 25 times 2. 25 breaks down into 5 and 5. We know that twins go on the outside. So my x is going to equal a positive 5 root 2. and then my x is going to equal a negative 5 root 2. Oops. Okay. I'm going to do one more with y'all, number 4, and then you'll do numbers 5 and 6 by yourself. If you do not finish it today, make sure that you finish it on Monday. Or if I have you Tuesday, you can finish it Tuesday. But I mean, I really think you should have time to do this. So for number 4, it has to be equal to 0. So negative 2x squared is on this left side, so I'm going to add 2x squared to both sides. So I get 2x squared plus 8x plus 7, and I'm going to set it equal to 0. Now I'm going to have an a of 2, a b of 8, and a c of 7. And I'm going to plug those into my Pythagorean theorem, which I'll just write right here. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So this formula will actually be given to you on the STAR test, which is awesome. So now we're going to plug in. I've got negative, so negative b, which is 8, plus or minus the square root of parentheses 8 squared minus 4. My a is 2, and my c is 7. All over 2a, which is 2. Okay. And so I'm going to end up with negative 8 plus or minus the square root of 8 squared is going to be 64. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 7 is, oh my gosh, 56. So it's going to be minus 56 all over a 4. So I'm going to end up with negative 8 plus or minus the square root of, I don't know why I can't do this in my head, and I probably should be able to, but 64 minus 56, it's 8 over 4. Okay, personally what I'm going to do now is I noticed that I can break down this root 8. So this root 8 is going to break down to 4 and 2, and then this breaks down to 2 and 2. And we know that twins go on the outside, right? So this is actually going to be negative 8 plus or minus 2 root 2 over 4. Well, negative 8, 2, and 4 all have 2 that go into it. So it's actually going to be negative 4 plus or minus 1 root 2 over 2. Because 2 went into negative 8 and negative 4 times. 2 went into 2 went into 2 one time, and 2 went into 4 2 times. And so now this is your final answer with a plus and a minus, which means you can write it 2 separate ways. So we've got negative 4 plus root 2 over 2 and positive 4. Wait, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Negative 4 plus root 2 over 2 and negative 4 minus root 2 over 2. Sorry, that was a brain fluff. Alrighty, so make sure that you set these two equal to 0. I'll go ahead and I'll start this one off for you. The first thing is 6x squared, so I'm going to subtract 6x squared. So negative 6x squared plus 30x plus 3 equals 0. So you have your A, your B, and your C. And that's it.